We're live.
Thanks for bearing with us, everyone. Go ahead and turn it over to you.
Unmute.
Thanks, Jessica. I was definitely just going at it. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our October Ask Me Anything legislation in the lab. We've got a couple panelists here, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. So hi, I'm Stephanie Noblit. I'm an ASCLS member. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm a medical laboratory professional, and I'm also have a law degree. So I kind of have this very unique experience between health policy and laboratory, the laboratory profession. I've been a member of the ASCLS Government Affairs Committee for about 5 years now, I believe. And I really love talking about health policy and laboratory policy, especially to those newer members or people that are really unfamiliar with government affairs and regulations and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to our discussion tonight.
I'm Jessica Lawless. I'm the Ascending Professional Forum Director to the Board of Directors for ASCLS. I have a huge passion for government affairs. I just started my 4th year on the committee. I started out as an interested observer, and then I was an ascending professional member, and now I'm the board liaison because I just can't get enough. And that's why I'm here.
Hello, my name is Ali Nussbaum. I am currently living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I work in the laboratory, but I am here because I serve as the vice chair of the Political Action Committee, so the little sub part of the Government Affairs Committee that deals more fundraising funds for government affairs. But I enjoy this topic so much, so I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
I guess I should say I'm from Boise, Idaho, and I do work in the laboratory. I'm a generalist. I work in 2 different health systems here in town, one trauma center and one fairly small hospital with a cancer center attached. So that's my background in the laboratory.
And my name's Cheyenne Reyes. I'm going to be the host for the evening. I'm the Ascending Professionals Forum Chair. And we are looking forward to this discussion. Do any of our panelists have like a base of just explanation of any current legislation that we've got going on, or we can go right to questions if you'd rather.
So we can talk a little bit about what's going on right now. So one of the biggest things actually, and anybody working in the lab currently, or even our students that are coming up and going through rotations, are probably very aware that we have a workforce shortage in the laboratory. So a lot of you have probably been working overtimes, have been working multiple benches at the same times, covering multiple weekends, or have just gotten used to running on short staff, like essentially short staff is your full staff. So that's something, you know, the lab has been dealing with for really decades now. It's become kind of this systemic problem, and it's only getting worse as the workforce gets older. So ASCLS has been working on kind of addressing this shortage for several years now, and we've made some progress over the years, but not enough to really make a impactful dent in the shortage. So one thing that we're actually working on now is trying to get legislation out there that can help support some of our educational programs, whether that be hospital-based or university-based programs, and also making sure that we can get more students into the field. So kind of encouraging people to enter this field by offering potential scholarships that can help to alleviate some of the burden on entering the profession or, entering an educational program or switching careers. So things like that. So this is actually a bill that we're working on. It hasn't been introduced into Congress yet. What we're doing right now is we're what's called looking for a sponsor. So we're reaching out to people on both sides of the aisle and in both chambers of government of the legislature, so both the House and the Senate, and looking for someone that will be willing to work with us and introduce the bill to their respective chamber, whether that's the House or the Senate. And then they'll essentially be our point of contact when talking about this bill and going through any potential like amendments or what kind of we want to see moving forward. So that's kind of where we're at now. And I don't know if Jessica wants to add anything to that.
Things that have been ongoing, but have, I wouldn't say been tabled, but definitely backburnered because the workforce is such an acute issue right now, is some PAMA changes, and recently the valid and what is the new acronym? What is the counter acronym?
Valid and, oh geez.
I know, I'm like,
vital,
oh, I just read the vital.
Yes.
So there's some legislature regarding laboratory developed tests that are being discussed now. If anybody remembers, what is it, Theranos? That's kind of brought it to the front of people's heads, I guess, and that's the valid and the vital acts were kind of developed after that shenanigans, but those are kind of ongoing and not the focus of this Congress, whereas the shortage in the medical industry in general during COVID and because of a pandemic and burnout has really helped us kind of push that workforce stuff to the front burner, which is probably more important than anything.
Okay, so what could we do to advocate as individuals with these issues?
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that people can do, what I consider just general ASCLS members. I think a lot of people get confused that they need to be really actively involved in government affairs and stuff to kind of be an advocate, and that's not necessarily the case. There's so many things you can do from wherever you are and whatever like your comfort level is with politics or government affairs. There's always something that you can do. So something as simple as tweeting your representative or just sending them a quick email about like what's going on in your lab these past couple of months with COVID, maybe telling them a quick story about, how your lab has been addressing the workforce shortage, things like that, because our representatives and senators really do respond to a lot of these grassroots personal stories. And, we need our members and the people out there in the trenches to kind of get this stuff across. So just something as simple as an email or tweet. There's also the option to visit an office. So all of your representatives and senators have local offices throughout your state. So you don't necessarily need to travel to DC if you can or unable to. There's always that option of visiting a local office and meeting with the staff members there. Sometimes it's good to just make that connection and let them know that you're available as a resource if they ever have any questions about clinical laboratory policy, that they can always reach out to you. And, it's just these little simple things. So I think we need to remember that just every little thing counts. And, if we all do just a few small things, all of that adds up into a big collective voice.
I also feel like just being vocal about what you do and not getting frustrated with everyone saying that, oh, you're some other role in the medical industry, but going ahead and like taking the time and setting aside frustrations and educating people, everyone you know in particular, about what you do and how important it is, and that it's an option. And then be very positive about the laboratory on the socials. It's really easy to vent your frustrations and vent your irritations with other people in the hospital, other medical careers, the hospital systems. It's really easy to do that, but we have enough negativity in the world, and that's not going to bring people in. It doesn't feel inviting. It doesn't feel warm. It doesn't feel like an environment that people would want to work in. So just maintaining a level of professionalism and positivity anytime you talk about the lab, even if it's only semi-genuine at the moment, I think really goes a long way. Because if we don't make the career look as awesome as it is, then there's no reason that people would choose it. That's just my thing on the socials.
Yeah, I agree, because you really do a disservice to the profession when you just kind of like dummy down what it is that we actually do. But another thing that you can do as an individual is donate money to the PAC. The Political Action Committee is always looking for donations. We run competitions throughout the year and pass around a trophy, and you can earn pins and stuff. It's a really great, fun way to contribute when you don't want to have to go talk to anybody. Plug for PAC.
Yeah, and it literally takes, you don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to get up the courage and the words and stuff like that. You can fund the people that want to, is essentially what it is.
Absolutely.
Could y'all explain the main differences between PAC and GAC, and if you're interested in a certain aspect, which one you should join, and maybe what does the money go for with PAC?
That had Ali all over it, that question.
I can describe PAC for you. So PAC, Political Action Committee, it's almost like a separate group from ASCLS. We are our own unique trustee group that fundraises money that looks for Congress people on both sides of the table or both sides of the line, very bipartisan, that support laboratory ideals and objectives. So we, with the help of Patrick Cooney, our lobbyist, we go out and we find people who will support things like laboratory shortage and will sponsor our bill, our legislation for it. And so what we do is we run fundraising campaigns throughout the year. Our two big ones are at the national meeting and at Ledge Days, which is coming up in a couple weeks. And then we use that money when we find representatives who support us, and we really try to put that money to good use to the best of our ability. We work as a group to try to find the best people possible, and we use the Government Affairs Committee's input for those donations too. But we don't look so much at the actual government affairs aspect. It's who they suggest for us to donate to. Somebody else want to tackle JC?
I mean, I think another way of putting it is that GAC really is the one that does the deep dive in the policy, and where if you're really interested in learning how government works and the jargon and things like that, GAC is a good option for you. If you're not really semi-interested in politics, but just get confused by all the stuff, and but still want to get involved in some way, I think PAC is a really great option. So PAC kind of is the group that essentially puts what GAC does into use. So we can talk about policy until we're blue in the face with GAC, but without PAC, we're not going to get any of our goals or things across. So PAC is really essential in making sure that, the laboratory kind of gets the legislation and regulation that it wants and needs, and that we can make sure that our patients are getting, quality laboratory care and are taken care of safely. So PAC is really the big power horse. So I would kind of say like GAC is kind of, if we're using like the metaphor of the body, GAC is kind of like the brain or the neural system, and then GAC or PAC is kind of like the muscle.
Yeah, if you don't know anything about Washington, D.C., a lot of it's who throws the bigger party. And the PAC funds the party.
Plus, we
Hey.
give out pins and stuff. It makes it fun. We get ribbons, pins. We pass around a trophy.
I love the PAC shenanigans. It makes me real happy.
Makes me happy too. Except for when I'm responsible for decorating it, and then I'm not so happy about it. Which is really funny because that was my idea, and I'm the one who keeps getting stuck decorating it. And I'm like, why did I suggest this? Oops.
Decorating the trophy?
Yeah, because my region keeps winning. And so we keep
Blah,
bringing it
blah,
home.
blah, blah, blah.
Oh, okay. So I think that's a good segue into our big event coming up in a couple weeks, Legislative Symposium. For first timers and people like me who this is only their second time, but I will be the only person from my state going. Can you give a description and a basic breakdown of what Legislative Symposium is like and what we do there?
So the Legislative Symposium starts on a Monday. Ooh, I'm getting feedback. Starts on a Monday. You sit through some really educational, informative lectures where you get to learn all the things that are currently impacting the laboratory and that the Government Affairs Committee has identified as key points. And then on Tuesday, you get to stomp down to Capitol Hill and go meet with your state representatives. The best possible way to get out the information is to go knock on their door and talk to them. It's a lot of fun. It's a really unique experience, to say the least.
I want to just say, like, one of my favorite things about this is only my second Leg Symposium, but I'm a big fan, obviously. But what I really love about it is the presence of other laboratory organizations. Like, you get in there and you're with your peers, and it's just kind of, to me, it's like the combining of the troops. And it's just fun to meet people from histology or from, any of the other organizations that have a presence there, and kind of meet them and find the ones from your state. And if you can collaborate and go to the Hill together, because you are all like being trained on the same stuff. It's agreed that this is what's important this year for everyone. And so we all are like cheering for the same, or like advocating for the same issues in this one moment. And I just really love that aspect of it, that it just kind of builds the camaraderie across all of the organizations.
Yeah, I think Jessica makes a good point. So ASCLS is kind of the host of the Legislative Symposium, but we also invite ASCP, AGT, the histology groups. It's really about 6 or 7, I think, laboratory groups that kind of all come together and collaborate for this event. So it's really good to kind of see all of us come together. But I would definitely recommend the Legislative Symposium for every member. I would definitely suggest that everybody go at least once. It really is just a very unique experience. And I think there's no other way to really understand the power of kind of democracy and kind of exercising your rights as an American than actually going to the Hill and speaking about something that you're passionate and care about as, an expert, because all of us who work in the lab, we live and breathe the lab and we're the experts. They're, those, while we look up to, the people and think kind of highly, or that, they know so much, they're so much smarter than us, our reps and stuff. But we're the ones that really need to help them out. So it's important to use our voice. And I've been every year since 2014. So I'm a huge fan of, and every year I get excited. You always get kind of this little bit of butterflies before you go into your first meeting, because you just kind of feel it's just a very fun and unique and powerful experience.
And I also really enjoy the fact that, like, when you go to the Hill and you talk to, whether it be the representative or the senator or their staff, it really puts the humanity not only in you, but in them. Like, you're not the lab anymore, and you're talking to your people. So, like, you vote for them or you don't vote for them. But, it is a democracy, and they're the representatives from your area. And so really and truly, like, you can, talk about your area of the state or your city or your even, depending, like, your area of each little, like, your neighborhood. And they may know. And I really just like that it's a meeting of people versus an email versus, a YouTube channel or a tweet or whatever. Like, you're literally sitting at a table with other people and you're talking about issues that are important to people.
Do y'all have any favorite tips to give for first timers for going to meet with staffers, or going, like, how to start the conversation with them?
I guess my tip or advice would be that to remember that people that you're talking to are not trained in medical things for the most part, typically. So you are the knowledge, you are the subject matter expert. So what you're talking to them about, they probably don't know much about. And then a tip would be for the different topics like shortage. Well, think about a story in your lab where shortage really impacted you and the lab and how it impacted patient care. Because if you can come with a really impactful story, that's what they're going to remember. They're not really going to remember so much the hard, detailed facts. But if you tell them a really, troubling story about, bad patient care because you didn't have staff, that's going to stick, and that's what they're going to remember when these topics come up again. And that would be my tip. Try to come up with a nice, powerful story.
I also would encourage people to introduce themselves as their credentialed role. I don't work in the laboratory. I'm a medical laboratory scientist. You worked hard for that designation, whatever it might be, and you need to be proud of it, and you need to come with your credential. So whenever you're introducing yourself, don't be like, and I work in the lab. Yeah, we know. That's why you're here. What's your credential? Because with important people, credentials matter. And so give yourself the credit that you were due, and introduce yourself with confidence, because even on your second week of your laboratory training, you know more than most of these people. It's all it took was 2 weeks, maybe 2 days on some of them. So just know that you really are the expert, and you really need to present that with confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree 100% with both Ali and Jessica. I would just echo what they say. And often, a lot of the new members or, students or, very fresh professionals, young professionals that are coming to the Hill for the first time, they worry, oh, I might not, know or really understand something as much as a seasoned member, or, I don't I'm not a manager. I don't deal with like laboratory billing or know about coding and stuff like that. And kind of once we get to the Hill, all of that doesn't matter, because like what Ali and Jessica said, we're the experts, and what's most important is those personal stories of working on the bench and not being able to do everything you could because you were short staffed, or maybe, you know, supply chain issues or things like that, or, you know, you had somebody out sick with COVID and you're running thousands of COVID tests a day and you have to stay overtime. So it's kind of those stories from the front lines that are the most impactful. And some of those managers who have been removed, they might be able to talk about some other things, but they're not going to be able to really share that frontline story. And the students as well, especially if you're on rotation, share about how, you know, you had to delay your class time or your shadowing time by an hour or two because your mentor or teacher just couldn't find the time to come over and handle or help you out, and how that affects kind of your education and things like that. So we really need those frontliners and new bench professionals and the students as well to kind of attend and get their story across. So no matter where you are in your training or your professional level, your story is important, and it's something that we need to share.
That's very helpful, especially for, I feel like I could have used that conversation in my first meeting, because I did not feel like I had a place to talk about the issues because I didn't really know. But just knowing that coming in with your own personal story and background is enough for going to meet with staffers.
And what I love about Legislative Symposium is that all day Monday, they really are giving you the words. They're giving you the tools. So don't zone out. I know it's a really long day, but they're giving you the information and the words, and you have a whole day and a whole night to like percolate it and put it into, to understand it and to practice and to, you know, kind of hone in on what we're presenting. You know, even if it's just one part of it, if it's a multi-part year or whatever, even if it's just one part of it, be confident in that one part of it. And, you know, that's why we have Monday. And that's why I love Legislative Symposium, because it really is like, they give you the information and you just kind of got to put your big boy and girl pants on and learn it, which we all know we can learn, and then go to the Hill and present it like you've been talking about it for 3 months versus one day.
I think maybe talking about prepping for Legislative Symposium could be important, because I know that was also something that a lot of people struggle with, like making appointments to speak with their representatives and senators. So maybe we could talk some about that.
Start now. I guess my recommendation would be to reach out to the state ASCLS chair for where you are, and see if there's already someone making appointments, and then reach out and see if you can help. If there's not anyone, then it might be up to you. And we've had plenty of students and first year professionals that have had to make these appointments themselves. Really, what I found the most success is going to their website and sending either an email, or sometimes there's an appointments like tab or section of the email. And, you know, start early, because sometimes you have to follow up, and try to book your appointments with the Senate in a time block and the House in a time block, because they're not that close to each other. So don't do 12 o'clock in the Senate and 12:45 at the House, because you're going to be getting a Lime scooter or running really fast and being real sweaty at your next appointment. But really, it's just getting those appointments set. Sometimes it takes follow-up. Sometimes there's shuffle they know that a lot of people are making multiple appointments. So like I'm waiting on one other person to contact me because they suggested an appointment time that I already had filled. So I responded and said, hey, I have something this time. How about this? And so there's always a little bit of back and forth, but usually all the representatives and senators know that like people are usually there to see them all. And so they're usually cognizant of the fact that time slots have to kind of be negotiated.
I think one thing as I've planned these meetings in the past is just not to be discouraged. If someone doesn't have the time to meet with you that particular day, because we are only going for one day, you can always stop by their office, drop off the handouts. And so if you don't make the appointments, it's not the end of the world, and you weren't a crushing defeat, a loser. You know, it's fine. You just drop it off, and the information still has made it to their office. Maybe you didn't get to talk to them or someone in their office, but that information still gets there. So it's about doing the best you can, and it's fun. Ledge Days is fun.
Hey,
Yeah,
cool. Hi.
so,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I had a question. I forgot. Hi, Dorian. So first time going, and as per Jessica's advice at the last Ascending Professionals meeting, I did reach out to the other people from the state of Texas, and it seems like I'm gonna be the only one going in person. And so this is the first virtual hybrid, correct? Yeah. So
Yes.
what does it look like when I'm in person, but I do have other people from my state attending virtually?
Yeah, so this year with COVID, this is definitely going to be a new experience for all of us. I mean, normally we would all be together on the Hill, doing our kind of pilgrimage to the Capitol, but this year some of us are going to be going virtually, and that's great too. I think I'm really excited about this option, and I hope it's something that we find a lot of success in, because it opens up the door for a lot of people that couldn't travel in the past. So with COVID, one thing that we've been told about is that there may be some offices that are still unwilling to have constituents visit face to face. It's right now the Capitol office buildings are open to the public, but it's really dependent on the office itself, whether they're allowing visitors or not. So even though you are there in person in DC, there is a possibility that when you reach out to the office, they may ask to still meet virtually over Zoom, just for safety and health reasons. And if that's the case, you can all meet together virtually, no matter where you are. I guess you would also have the option. I mean, if one thing you could do, you can get kind of creative about it. If you wanted to bring a laptop or a tablet into the office, if they allow you to have an in-person visit, and stream the people into the office so that you're all kind of getting sort of the same experience, or the virtual people can kind of set up their own appointments, and do kind of their own thing virtually, whether they want to try to set up an appointment for that Tuesday when we'll be on the Hill, or if they, are working that day and are just kind of, watching, they can kind of set up their meeting for a time that works best for them. So it's going to be definitely a unique experience. I think you can talk to some of your the other constituents from Texas and see kind of what their feelings are, if they have a preference for how they would want to do things. But you can kind of, and that's kind of the beauty of the hybrid model, that you can kind of customize it for what's best for you and the other people from your state. So I don't know if anybody else has any ideas of what we can do, or what advice you would have.
So I asked this exact question at the board check-in. Go ahead, Andrea. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I was just going to interject that from a staff perspective, that there are going to be some parts of the Legislative Symposium that will be recorded. Those recorded not for PACE credit, but available to share with your constituent societies after the fact. So the goal is to bring Legislative Symposium back to your states, to your workplaces, and anywhere that you wish to show a group.
I also think that if you're still making appointments, and I thought of this last week sometime after I had started making my appointments, but you could ask the office if it was okay if you brought some other people in via Zoom, and then you could do like a Zoom call for the time slot of your appointment and share that with the people in your state that would like to participate. I just was kind of waiting on some further direction from Jim, but that's what I was going to pitch to the other lady from Idaho going.
Yeah, that's neat. I like that. No, it's good. It's good that we're like being so inclusive too. I like the hybrid model, and it seems so straightforward on the Monday affairs because it's more in that lecture kind of setting. So that's good. That's good clarification for.
Yeah, I would just, if you're reaching out, I would almost put that in the initial like email. Say we have some members that are unable to be face-to-face but would like to chime in on the appointment via Zoom and just get clearance right off the bat. I think that they're going to be cool with it because they've been doing Zoom meetings for a while. So
Yeah, Dorian, I'm also going to be the only person from my state, and that is what I'm planning on doing. I've been speaking with the people who are going virtually and trying to coordinate any appointments that they're setting up with what I'll be setting up in person. So
yeah, good deal. Teamwork makes the dream work.
mm-hmm.
I mean, like every new experiences, this is probably going to be a growing pains year, and we're going to learn a whole lot and basically do our best. And I honestly just think that bringing the passion and bringing the effort and, just kind of with grace, taking what happens. And like Ali said, like 1,000%, do your best, because I mean, I may never hear back from the one person I'm poking, and if that's the case, I'm gonna drop that literature, and then I'm going to email them and say, hey, I dropped some literature at your office, did you read it? That's just kind of how you just kind of rise above it, because it is an office and they may not have time, they may not be there, they may have to call in sick for the flu, you never know.
Okay, I think this have been a really good discussion so far. Do we have any other questions or anything else that our panelists would like to mention? We've still got probably about 10 to 15 more minutes we can go.
I have a little random one, if it's cool to throw it out there. A question
Absolutely.
for Stephanie. You mentioned that you had a law degree, and so I just kind of had to take a quick look-see at your LinkedIn. I noticed that came after all the MLS stuff. Would you say that it was like your participation in all the Ledge Day things that kind of led you to that? Or I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was an MLS. I, got my undergrad degree in MLS. I was, a crazy MLS, huge, ASCLS member. Loved my job, loved the profession. Never would have thought I would end up where I am now. But really, I got bit by the policy bug, and it was really because of my participation in the Government Affairs Committee. I was started off as a ascending professional rep on the committee, and just found it completely interested in interesting and didn't realize there was like this whole other world out here. Like, and just kind of thinking about how what I was doing on the bench was really influenced by stuff that was going on down in DC, and why a lot of the struggles that sometimes we have in the lab are due to these poor policies. And I figured, well, maybe things would be a little bit better if somebody that actually knew the lab was helping out to make those policies or had some sort of voice or influence. And yeah, I ended up, after 2.5 years in the lab, ended up going to law school kind of on, I don't want to say a whim, but it was just kind of a decision that I made very quickly so that I wouldn't change my mind. And here I am. I'm, I have my JD. I'm currently working in drug policy. But every day I really do use my MLS background, especially because I was working in toxicology, and it just so happened that I end up working in drug policy. But every day I'm able to bring kind of that experience and scientific knowledge to policy, and do things and discuss things that, my coworkers who are, only attorneys, don't have a science background, haven't known after working in this field for 10, 20 years. And I'm already kind of at this level above them in certain aspects of knowing kind of different things about drug testing and, different chemicals and reactions and different things like that. So it's really helped in my career. But definitely, yeah, after I attended my first legislative symposium and just walking in the around the halls of the congressional offices, it just something clicked. So I definitely am so thankful that, for the experience that I've had in ASCLS and how that has kind of transformed my career. But I'm always in MLS first and at heart. So that's why I'm still super involved in ASCLS. And, now I'm kind of coming at laboratory work from a different angle.
This is kind of off topic for that, but you talking about walking the halls reminded me, if it is your first time in Washington, D.C., personally, I would ask if any of the reps or senators have like the passes to go on a Capitol tour. Just to kind of really get a feel for what all goes down and where it all goes down. I just feel like it's a good opportunity, and a lot of them are really willing to give you those passes if they're still going on. I don't know. This year may be weird, but I would recommend that. You try to go, see the whole Capitol building and go into the chambers and things like that. It's just kind of cool. Stuff you see on TV.
To add to that, my suggestion would be to not wear your highest heels. You will walk a lot, and because no one's office is near anybody else's office, so you'll end up walking a ton. But not only that, these buildings are like really old with marble everything, and so you will make the most noise walking down the hallway, even in sneakers. Everything is echoey. And so you'll be like tiptoeing in here. So just wear comfortable shoes that aren't going to make a ton of noise, because you're going to be loud otherwise.
Girl, that is so true.
I didn't do that my first year. Not at all.
Nope.
I was so embarrassed walking down the hallways. I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I wear these shoes?
I'd made the same mistake. So.
Yep. Definitely wearing comfortable shoes that are not heels, because I did have the experience of having to run from Senate building to House building to Senate building to House building, because that's just how it shook out. And let me tell you what, they are not close. They are not close to one another.
Close.
You will be sweaty. I don't care how cold it is in DC, you will be sweaty.
Okay. Any other last minute tips and tricks for legislative symposium? I think it's
Saturday and look around.
Yeah, definitely go early and see the sites if possible.
Most of the museums are free. Most of the monuments are free. Like, it's a really lovely place to experience the history and everything of the United States. So,
Yeah, and especially if this is your first big national ASCLS event, make sure to do some networking and meet some new people. I've met people that I consider some of my best friends now at my very first legislative symposium. So, make sure to say hi to people. I'll be there in person. Say hi to me. I'm always happy to talk to people. If you have the nervous jitters on that Monday afternoon, come sit by me. I'll talk you through it. But yeah, just kind of take it all in and enjoy it. And, you never know what's going to happen afterwards. Like maybe you'll end up like me with the JD. And but yeah, just take it all in and enjoy it, and just kind of appreciate just being together with a bunch of like-minded, fun, amazing people.
in a really beautiful city
Mm-hmm.
with some good food, just saying.
Yeah.
All right. This has been a great session. Thank you all so much for doing this and taking the time out of your evenings to talk to us about these things. In December, we will have another AMA about the Doctorate of Clinical Laboratory Science, the Developing Professionals Forum. We'll be putting that one on, so keep your eyes peeled for that if you're interested. Otherwise, I think we are good to go. Everyone
Thank you,
have a good
everybody.
night.
I can't wait
Yay,
to
thank you,
see you at
panelists.
Ledge Day.
Yeah.
Yes, I will also be in person, so everyone come say hi.